Okay, first of all, well, thank you, Renee. And first of all, let me start off by apologizing. I just finished a knee replacement, total knee, a couple of days ago, and so I'm not on my usual equipment because my regular equipment's upstairs, and I'm not able to navigate the stairs yet. So I hope that you can hear me okay on this platform that I'm using, and that you can see the screens all right. My plan is today is to spend our 45 minutes talking about what I think is a very unique market if you've not traded in it, the Globex. Talk about some of its unique trading concepts that just apply to the Globex at night. But understand also I am part of Traders Den 24, which is a around the room trading room, around the clock trading room, I should say. And we're quite proud of that because we think, as far as we know, we're the only live chat room that literally is staffed by moderators around the clock. Now, there are a lot of chat rooms that are open 24 hours, but this is the only one that we know of that has live moderators, professional traders that are in the room to help you navigate the markets. But I'm going to focus today on the Globex, which is my play box, if you will, or sandbox. And I start at 5 o'clock in the evening. All the times, by the way, that I will refer to today are central time zones. And I live in the central time zone. The CME in Chicago is in the central time zone. So that's why we use central time zones, even though we have traders from all over the world, in our room, especially from Australia and Europe, because of course it's their daytime hours. And I will stop along the way as we visit with each other and take questions. So real quick, before I go too far, what markets have you traded in terms of futures? Have you traded in the after hours market or the Globex? Now that's the market that starts trading futures only after 5 o'clock and goes till the U.S. opens in the morning at 8:30. That'll give me an idea of how we want to take our time together today. So how many of you have traded in the Globex after hours? Renee, I'm not sure. I'm not getting any questions. Can you see if the questions are coming through?
If you on the side of your screen, the little navigation bar, if you click on questions, they should pop up. Are you seeing it?
Well, I have the question box open.
Okay. Looks like someone is just asking what's Globex, not really any other questions. Staying with their
Well, I'm
trading.
not even seeing that one.
Yeah. I
Click
can try
on to open questions pane.
What?
This button says click to answer questions. All right, well, I'm not seeing any of the questions. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what my problem is here.
Do you see where it says questions though on the navigation bar?
Click to open questions pane. Is that the one you're referring to?
It just says questions, and then there's a little arrow next to it that can pull it out for you to see.
Well, like I said, I had the questions box open before we even started. It says chat at the top. Am I in the right place?
That's just the chat. There's another one labeled questions above the chat.
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing it. Let me try this. Just go back to the start. I see the microphones. I see speakers. I don't see anything that asks questions.
Mm-hmm. It should be underneath that. If it's not there, I don't know what to tell you. I can just let you know what their questions are, though.
Well, I apologize. Maybe that's the only way we can go at this point.
Okay. So you have questions. What's Globex? Is this a trading platform? Let's start with those.
Okay. The Globex was, well, give me a second here. The Globex, and I just put a slide up. I hope you can at least see that. Is a CME created product. It was a joint venture between Reuters and the CME back in the early 90s. And it was originally designed to accommodate Forex traders or currency traders because, as many of you know, the currency is traded 24 hours a day. So the name Globex implies, one, it was a global trading platform. It was the first electronic platform, and it is considered the grandfathers of most of the electronic platforms that most of you trade on today. And originally, you could only trade the S&Ps and the bonds and the futures and the currencies, and that was it at that time. Now, literally, you can access any market anywhere in the world 24 hours a day. And for example, let's say that you wanted to trade the FTSE in London the other day because of all the news on the Brexit. Well, you press a button and you're trading the futures on the FTSE just like you would trade futures here in the U.S. Or if you wanted to trade the Nikkei in Japan, or you wanted to trade the DAX in Germany. It is phenomenal how far this market has come since the early 90s. And I had the good fortune of being included with some of the first electronic systems that we got to experiment on. Looking back on it, it's a wonder we survived because we didn't have any manuals or we didn't have any instructors or moderators telling us how to use the system. We just had to learn as we went along. Now, originally, to gain access to the Globex, you had to be approved by the Futures Exchange. It cost a few $1,000s to acquire, in those days, what was a Globex terminal, only for trading in the Globex. And then it cost almost $1,000 to $1,200 a month to maintain it. Commissions were $25. I'll say that again, $25 a round turn. And it was like watching paint dry because it was a very slow market. There were not many participants, and most of the participants were professional traders who had these Globex terminals. Then in 2004, believe it or not, because that's not that many years ago when you stop and think about it, that's when you were able to access the Globex as long as you had a Globex account or you had a terminal or a futures account. You can now access the Globex 24 hours a day. So again, the Globex is that market that starts trading at 5 o'clock in the evening Central Time and trades in the U.S. Opens in the morning. And that's what we're going to talk about today, I hope, to try to educate you, if you're not familiar with this market, of how to use it and at least know that it's there if you should like to use it. Now, here's a perfect example of trading and the advantages of the Globex. Wednesday night, as we all know, we were on Brexit watch, trying to figure out what Britain was going to do. And I was in the camp that they were going to stay, based on not just the polls, but just the research I had done and reading. I was thinking they were going to stay in the EU. Once the official announcement was made that the vote was to stay, we told the folks in our room the market would rally, and then we would fade that rally. Well, it kind of worked that way. I was totally wrong about Britain, as we know now, staying in the EU. But the market did rally into the boat. They traded up to 21.19 on the S&Ps. We shorted 21.18. They went down to 21.12, and we thought we were absolute geniuses and took a 6-point profit, only to sit and watch it go lower and lower and lower. Eventually, they went down and they traded 19.99, leaving thousands and thousands of dollars on the table. But that's not the story, guys and gals. The story is, this is where you take advantage of the markets at night while everyone else in the U.S. is sleeping. That's what's important to understand about our time today. The Globex, even today, even though it's been around since the early 90s, is still a very misunderstood market. Most are not familiar with it. Even if you trade futures during the day, you know there's a market at night where futures are trading, but you're not sure how that market works, and that's what we're going to spend a little bit of our time doing today. Any other questions, Renee, that I need before I move on?
One person wanted to know, are margins requirements for Globex the same? And then someone else wanted to know, what is FTSE?
90% of the time, the margin requirements to trade at night are the same as they are trading during the day. The platform you trade on will determine if they're going to be different. Now, as we all know, the last few days, most all of the platforms trading futures have raised their margin requirements because of the volatility. But we're talking normally now. You can trade a E-mini contract in the Globex for $1,000, and that's with gain, and most platforms are at $500. But gain's the only one I know that requires $1,000 per E-mini contract that you want to trade. But that's not what's really important. What's important is that to know that this market is available to you, that it is a place for you to go and take advantage of news items like we had this past week, where you had a tremendous amount of volatility, but if you were on the right side, you were able to take advantage of it, rather than having to wait for the markets to open in the U.S. in the morning, and you've missed 80% of the move. And, you know, you didn't have to guess which way the market was going once it was obvious, or that the boat was close and that Britain may leave. You still had time to get into a trade and make a lot of money rather than wait for it to open in the U.S. in the morning. But here are some of the advantages of trading in the Globex. The market moves slower at night, so it's much easier to trade. You don't have near the volatility that you have during the day. It's a better trending market at night. But here's what I like most about it, and this is why I spend most of my trading, even though I trade around the clock, I trade most of my time, or most of my trades are made in the Globex at night, or after hours market. Those two terms are synonymous, if you will. There are no high frequency trading programs. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you there aren't computers that are executing orders at that time of night, but it's not the high frequency trading programs that so many of us become familiar with, that these quants have created these models to trade with. You just don't have the volume at night to accommodate these models, because, as you know, it requires a tremendous amount of volume. And then I have spent most of my life in this Globex, and I think I can say with some confidence I'm probably one of the few original Globex traders around that you will meet. I've spent most of my trading days in the Globex developing signals and indicators that only work at night. Yes, you're trading the same contracts at night that you trade during the day, but they do have a different set of rules at night, and that's what we'll spend a few minutes on today. Now, in addition to being able to trade and speculate in the Globex after hours, it is the only place where if something happens in the marketplace, and again, this past week is an excellent example of where, you know, you think you've got your portfolio set like you want. Market looks like it may make new highs. We're trading very close to the highs. Then all of a sudden, the world is surprised by something like we saw Wednesday night, the Brexit, or Thursday morning. This is the only place, guys and gals, where you can run to when all the other markets are closed to hedge your portfolio. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about, the hedging process, because I think our time will be better spent just talking about the Globex in general. But just know that, it exists and you're able to hedge your portfolio if you choose to do so. And in some cases, you can not only hedge your portfolio, but make money off of the hedge as well. Suffice it to say, you can trade one E-mini contract per $75,000 worth of equities that you're holding, should pretty much hedge it, depending upon the volatility of your portfolio. Okay, I think most of you know the S&P is a highly leveraged futures contract. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I think most of you know that that's what it is. But trading at night, you can trade the big S&Ps at night along with the mini S&Ps, but I really don't recommend it. And as I said earlier, your margins are going to vary depending on what your platform requires, but you should be able to trade in the Globex for about $500 an S&P contract. Now, I think we all had an interesting lesson. I've been doing this as long as I said, as anyone you'll probably meet or talk to. Yet we were all surprised by the events of Wednesday and Thursday, when everyone thought that Britain was going to stay. They surprised the markets by leaving. You could have looked at the currencies. Currency said Britain was going to stay. You looked at the polls. The polls said Britain was going to stay. Anything you looked at said Britain was going to stay, except for the vote itself. So, again, what I want to stress today is this is the best opportunity you can have to take advantage of these markets when something goes bump in the night, as I like to say. It could be the Lehman debacle of 2008. It could be the crisis in Ukraine. It could be, the crisis with the Greece during the Brexit, as they called it back then, or when we were having the issues with some of the other members of the EU. We could talk about China. And, when you think back, you really didn't care about GDP in China. You didn't care about manufacturing news out of China. But today, guys and gals, you need to know that news. I think we all understand that we are now in a global economy and we're in a global marketplace. And when you have economies such as China, the number 2 largest economy now in the world, just overtook Japan. You have Japan number 3. You have Europe number 4. And of course, the U.S. is number 1. Now, when you get news that affects one of those markets, it'll affect our market. And that's what I want to leave you with today. If I say anything about, trading and understanding the marketplace, this is it right here. We are in a 24-hour marketplace. That's why we created the 24-hour trade room. We know that. We all understand it. And if you're not taking advantage of the 24-hour marketplace, or at least understanding how it operates, you're leaving 17 hours of some very valuable information that you could be using to not only trade with, but to manage your own money with. So we're big believers in the 24-hour market, and part of that's the Globex that we're talking about now. Now, we break it down into 4 components. We have key market times. We have proprietary signals and indicators that, as I said, I've spent, my lifetime, for the most part, going back to the early 90s, developing, that work in the Globex only. Greek-isms. Now, you're probably scratching your head trying to figure out what that means, but these are basically trading patterns that occur on a regular basis. There's some 21 of them, 22 of them. I'll mention a couple of those in just a minute. And the most important is money management. Now, the best thing I can say about money management is if you do not have a disciplined and adequate money management system, no matter how disciplined your trade entries are and your discipline is on trading in general, If you do not have a disciplined money management system, you're just not going to be consistent in your results. And if you're not consistent in your results, then you're spinning your wheels. So real quick, let me just touch on some of these. Market times. What we do is we break the market down into 3 sections at night, or 3 time zones, if you will. We have the Asian control. This is the markets that control the S&Ps. Now, as I go through this, we only trade the S&P at night. My philosophy there is that learn one market and learn it well. But I've also found that that's where the most liquidity is, and that's the market that reacts to what's mostly going on in the world at night of trading. Now, let me say, you do not have to become an international economist to trade this market. Far from it. It is a very easy market to learn and a very easy market to trade. In fact, I have been teaching these markets now since the middle of the 1990s, and most will tell you that trading futures, if you want to learn how to trade futures, it's easier to learn how to trade them in the Globex than it is during the day, especially, as I said earlier, with these high-frequency trading programs and all the volatility that we see. So at night, we have found, and what we're looking for, only those markets that move the S&P. And during the Asian session, it's going to be the Hang Seng and the Nikkei. So the Asian session starts at 5 p.m. Central Time and goes till midnight. Then we start to get into the European control, where the European markets will start to affect the S&Ps. We start that at midnight. That goes till 5 a.m. in the morning. And then, of course, we start into the U.S. opening. So, after 5 a.m., traders are starting to focus on what the U.S. is going to probably do. So Europe and Asia become less important, unless, as I said earlier, you're having one of these big news items like we had last week with the Brexit. The markets that we watch during the European control is going to be the DAX and the FTSE, especially the FTSE with what's going on now in the UK. So again, international markets play a key role, and at night, this is what we're watching. These are the markets that we're following. Our goal is to find that market that's moving the S&Ps or will affect the S&Ps. Now, sometimes here of late, it might be oil, because oil's been affecting the S&Ps. But in the last few days, of course, it's been, the currencies, mostly the currencies out of the UK. You follow those, figure out what those are going to do, then you know how to trade the S&P. So it's very different from trading during the day, and most that try to trade this market, they really don't understand that till they're up to their elbows in it, and they figure out, well, this market has a different set of rules. So I cannot overemphasize this. Even if you don't want to trade in the Globex at night, you're leaving some 17 hours of very valuable trading information that can make you not only a better trader, but a better investor. And that's our goal, is to become a better manager of our own assets and money. You don't have to stay up all night. I know some of you are probably thinking, well, Bill, this sounds good and it makes a lot of sense, but, I have a family or I have a job. I can't stay up all night, and we know that. We understand it. And so we created a auto trade system. So if you don't want to stay up at night and trade with us in the room, we put the orders in for you. But again, what I want to emphasize is that there's this market, for those of you who are not familiar with it, that you can take advantage of, that I promise you will make you a better investor and a better trader. All right, then we have our proprietary signals. These are signals that only work at night. They don't work during the day, and that will consist of pivot times when we know markets are going to move. For example, you'll usually see a pretty good move from 12:30 in the morning till 1. That's when the DAX opens in Europe. There's also a pretty good move just before the Nikkei and the Hang Seng open. Hang Seng opens at 8:15 Central Time. Nikkei opens at 7 p.m. Central Time. And generally speaking, just before these major markets open, you'll see a move in the S&Ps, which you can take advantage of. All right, you also need to have a basic understanding of what the international markets are doing. Now, because of Brexit in the last few days, we've had to understand what's going on overseas and in Europe. But generally speaking, the DAX, the FTSE, the Hang Seng, and the Nikkei, on normal trading nights, that's what's going to move the S&Ps. Figure out what the DAX is going to do in Germany, and you can figure out what the S&Ps are going to do at night. Now, during the day, it's the other way around. The S&Ps are going to lead the DAX rather than the DAX leading the S&Ps. And that's why I say that it's a very different market at night. All right, then you have the DOM, which is depth of market. Sometimes it's called a matrix. That is that volume indicator on most of your platforms that you enter orders on. It is one of the best indicators that you can use at night as a volume indicator. But if you try to use it during the day, it's absolutely useless. So here's another example of a proprietary indicator that will work at night. It's not going to help you during the day. All right, so Renee, if you don't mind, again, I apologize. Are there any other questions? I'll stop here just for a second and then we'll move on.
We had questions of what else is good to trade overnight besides the S&P, and how long did it take for you to become consistently profitable?
Okay, two very good questions. We do from time to time trade the bonds during the Globex session, but I narrow it to just the S&Ps and the bonds. But what I want everyone to understand that there's virtually not a market you can't access in the Globex, and that's the whole point of our time today. As I said earlier, if you want to trade the DAX in Germany, you can. You want to trade the Hang Seng in China, you can. You want to trade any of the currencies, any of the metals, oil, anything you can possibly think of that you trade during the day, you can trade at night in the Globex. As far as becoming consistent in terms of your returns, I find, again, this is going to depend on your level of experience, but we have people who come in our room that trade with our moderators that make money almost from the beginning, and we have those who go out on their own, and their results are hard to determine because, they don't feed us back their results. Now, we furnish the results in our room. We furnish actual statements of results, which I have one that I'll put up here in a minute. But if you want to get access to the statements where you can study them at your leisure, you can. I'll provide you with an email. You can email our support people. They'll be happy to send them. So we only use statements of our trades, actual audited statements, to prove, what our returns are in the room. We have moderators, as I said at the beginning, calling trades around the clock. And, you can trade with Harry, starting at 8:30 in the morning. You can trade with Scott. You can trade with John Anders, who does credit spreads and options, who does a really excellent job. All of our traders, they're making money for the people in the room, and we have the statements to back it up. Now, Greek-isms, which is another component, as I mentioned earlier, that has to do, of course, with my heritage. That's the nickname our room gave the signals that I have spent most of my years in the Globex creating. And again, Greek-isms are basic patterns that reoccur in the Globex, and I'll give you an example of a few of those now. One is, for example, options expiration 80% of the time. And when I talk about probabilities, I talk about probabilities that take place 80% of the time. That's the threshold that I use. In my mind, if you can find something that works 80% of the time, then you found something that will help you make money. There's nothing in this business that I know of, I don't care what anyone says, that works 100% of the time. At least I don't know of anything. But 80% of the time, knowing that the Monday following options expiration, because positions are still being squared off after Friday's expiration, generally that Monday will be up in the morning. Now you're going to say, well, Bill, why is that important? Well, the reason it is important is because you can start trading at the Globex, in the Globex, at 5 o'clock on Sunday. If you are a true futures trader, if you are a true Globex trader, your morning doesn't start Monday at 8:30 in the morning. Your day starts, your week starts at 5 o'clock on Sunday evening. So if you're trading Sunday evening and you know there's an 80% chance that the S&Ps are going to rally into Monday morning's opening, not to say they're going to be up all day, but certainly in the morning, you can take advantage of that move. So what we'll do is we'll trade Sunday nights. We may get short early, and then at some point, knowing that there's an 80% chance the market's going to open up Monday morning, we'll either pair off the positions or we'll get long at some point. Another Greek-ism, this is probably one of my favorites, and this is the one we probably make the most money with, is the overnight short squeeze. And we have seen this a lot over the last couple of years in this market. Many of you have probably picked up this pattern, where after 1 o'clock you'll see the market, generally speaking, start to rally, and it'll rally into the close. It'll squeeze the shorts, and if it closes at the top tick of the last hour of trading, let me say that again, if it closes near the top tick of the last hour of trading, you generally have it set up for a great trade into the Globex session. So in other words, let's say using today's S&P numbers, before I came on the program this afternoon, they were trading around 2009, I believe, 2010. Let's say they rally them into the close, which there's a good possibility they may do today, and they close them at, let's say, 2014. They close at 3:15. They reopen at 3:30. Then they close again at 4 o'clock. They open into the Globex at 5 o'clock. That's when Globex trading starts. You can sell that rally, that top tick, if they ran them up into the close, and scalp a point or two, and usually, make your whole day just doing that trade. It's quick, it's easy. I will say that most of you, as you listen to this, you think, again, this sounds like a lot of screen time. It sounds like I have to stay up late, and I promise you that is not the case. In fact, probably 70% of our trades take place before midnight. All right, then there's some 21 or 22 of these Greek-isms, so we don't have time to go through all of them today. But I'm trying to give you an example by what we mean by Greek-isms as they apply to the Globex. Okay, money management. Now, this is where I see most traders, even though they have a tremendous discipline when it comes to order entry and all of the other trading techniques that we know and use, the one where I find most fall short is money management. Now, let me just say it this way, guys and gals. If you do not have an adequate money management system, you're just not going to have consistent results in your trading. Now, let me tell you how we approach this. Most traders, and I think most of you understand this, and it's really simple, it's really easy to adopt this. They're looking for added income. At least that's what the traders in our room are doing. They're trying to supplement their income by $2,000 or $3,000 a month. And the goal is to do that on a consistent, slow, and steady basis. So what we ask the members of our room to do when they first join, very first thing you should do is set a goal. So in this example, let's just say your goal is to make $2,000 a month. Assume there are 20 trading days in each month. All you have to do is average $100 a day. Now, folks, that's not hard to do. All you have to do is average $100 a day to reach your goal. So if your goal, again, is to make $2,000 a month, break it down into 20 trading days. You need to average $100 a day, and you can hit your goal. That's 1 point on the S&Ps. Not difficult to do whatsoever. So you set a daily goal, and once you set your goal, that determines how many contracts you're going to trade. It determines what your unit will be. It will determine what your stops will be or should be, and it'll determine your targets. Everything falls into place once you set that goal. Now, I say average $100 a day because some days you're going to lose money. You know it, and I know it. So some days you're going to make money. You might make 150 some days, lose 50 or 100 other days, and then you hit your goal trying to make that $100. Here's what's important, and this is what I see most traders, they fall short on. Once you hit your goal, once you make that $100, assuming that's your goal a day, you stop. You quit trading, or you trade in sim and just continue to practice, with plastic money. But you don't continue to trade because if you do, there's a high probability you're going to give it back. When you set a goal, when you set a target, you avoid all of the traps that many traders get themselves into. Overtrading, trading too many contracts. How many of us have started out trading one contract or two? Then, we get behind on a trade and say, okay, if they were a great short at 2010, and now here they're trading 2015, they should be even a better short. So now you're short 4 contracts. And then it goes to 2020 and you're short 6 contracts. Next thing you know, you're a 1 contract trader trading 6 contracts, trying to dig yourself out of a hole. Chances are the hole gets deeper. Next thing you know, you're screaming, "Uncle, I want out." As we say in the business, the mouse says to the man who's caught in the trap, the mouse says, "Mister, you can keep the cheese, just let me out of the trap." Well, we see that a lot when you do not have a money management system that's disciplined and one that you can count on. By having a disciplined money management system, you increase your odds of making money on a consistent basis. Your odds go up dramatically. And again, if I leave you with anything today, you've got to have a disciplined money management system, or you're not going to be consistent in your results. So let me summarize that again. Whether you join our room, whether you're trading on your own, whatever it is, set a goal as to what you want to make each and every day. Make that goal. Once you establish your goal, it establishes the number of contracts you want to trade. So let's say that you can meet your goal by trading 2 S&P contracts per day. 2 S&P contracts now becomes your unit. You never, ever have more than 2 contracts on at any one time. Never. If you have spent your 2 contracts as such, you get stopped out, so be it. You reassess and start over. So we recommend that you think of your trading in units, not as contracts. Once you establish your goal, you establish the number of contracts you're going to trade. That brings you back around to your stops, to the amount of risk you're going to take, and now you have a money management system that will work for you on a consistent basis. So you learn the process, you minimize your risk, and guys and gals, don't overtrade. If you have a disciplined money management system, it not only will keep you focused, but it'll keep you from doing a lot of the bad habits that so many traders develop, such as overtrading. When you reach your goal, I cannot overemphasize this, quit for the day. Now, I know this sounds sort of hard to believe or understand, but trust me, it works. You sit in front of your screen all day. You spend a lot of your emotions, your time, your money trying to learn how to trade. Reward yourself by taking money out of your account on a weekly or monthly basis. Now, the reason we recommend that the members of our room, we recommend this as part of our money management system, is because if you reward yourself, that's how you, again, do those things that are trading techniques over and over again that make you a better trader. So again, there's a tremendous psychological and emotional value taking money out of your account on a regular basis and rewarding yourself for your efforts. By doing that, you reinforce all of those disciplines that got you there. And you can make the same statement if you're a tennis player, if you're a golf player, if you have certain techniques that you have to adopt in order to make you better at what you do, that's your discipline. And each and every time you reward yourself for doing that discipline correctly, you're more apt to do it on a regular basis. So it almost becomes automatic. Okay, Renee, again, I'm sorry, but I'll stop here and see if there are any more questions so far.
They want to know how many contracts you normally do per trade, and are there a minimum? And can you use Thinkorswim?
Yes, you can use any platform. Also, I'm glad someone asked that question. You can trade on any platform. We don't care what platform you trade on. We do not participate in the commissions. We do not try to recommend platforms. If you ask us to recommend one, of course we will. We are a Ninja affiliate. We have different platforms that the different traders use. For example, a couple of our traders are Ninja traders. I personally use the Game platform, Thinkorswim. The point being is you can trade on any platform you choose to trade on. So it's up to you. You don't have to move your account. You don't have to have a specific platform. We provide you with quotes, and today that's a big deal because now most of these platforms are charging you, anywhere from 25 to 40, 50 bucks a month. We provide quotes in the room. Especially on the foreign market, you have to have real-time quotes. For example, if you're going to watch the Nikkei and the Hang Seng at night, to get that direction on the S&Ps, you have to have real-time feeds from the Singapore Exchange, which we provide in the room as part of the monthly membership fee. I'm sorry, what was the other question in addition to the platforms? How many contracts we trade? I'm sorry.
Yes.
We'll normally make at night 3 or 4 trades, and most of the traders in our room trade anywhere from 2 to 10 contracts. And then we have quite a large group that are 1 contract traders. All right, now the screen before you now, I hope you're seeing quotes on the left, and you see a chart on the right, which is a familiar Renko bar chart, I'm sure. And if you logged into our room, this is what our chat room will look like at night. I will also say, talking about our chat room, and I'm very proud of this, I think we have one of the most friendly, personable chat rooms that I've been a part of in the business. And it's probably come together by accident, not by anything I did intentionally. But we really have a great group of folks. They share a lot of their information with each other. They get to be pretty good friends, and they're from all over the world, as I said earlier. We have a large group from down under in Australia, for the obvious reason it's their daytime when it's our nighttime trading. We have a fairly large group from Europe, Canada, but you meet a lot of people in the room and make a lot of really great friends. And we think when you're trading at night, it's always good to have other traders to trade with. All right, so to summarize real quick, because my time is almost up, key market times, we have our proprietary signals and indicators, the Greek-isms and money management. You take all that, you learn the system, and you can make money on a consistent basis. The method is simple. It's not hard to learn. I know that when you hear me using terms like the DAX in Germany or the Nikkei maybe, you start to think that's just a little bit too much information. But guys and gals, I promise you, if you want to learn how to trade futures, the best place to do that is in the Globex at night. Even if you're not going to trade, anyone who's managing their own money or trading during the day needs to have a basic understanding of the Globex and how it works. You can can check out our past performance on the trades that we enter, and these are audited statements. Again, you can get these statements from our support group. They'll be happy to send them to you so that you can study them on your leisure, at your leisure, if you will. Obviously, I don't have time right now to go through them. This statement was dated as the end of April the 16th, 2016. Those numbers are down a little bit. I will say that they're off a bit from that high, or that number, 44,000. Probably need to get a more current statement. All right, so let me leave you with this. And today, as part of our presentation with this group, for $47 for 30 days. Now, $47 for 30 days in this business is nothing to pay if, and I want to say if, you learn at least one trading signal, or you learn one indicator, or you learn one pattern that makes you a better trader. If you learn just one of those that makes you a better trader, then it's well worth $47 in this business for 30 days. If you join the room for 30 days for $47 and you don't learn at least one pattern, one indicator, or one signal, or one thought process that didn't make you a better trader, call me, tell me, Bill, I learned absolutely zero, and I'll give you your $47 back. At the end of 30 days, if you want to stay in the room, it's $147 a month. So let me summarize. $47 for 30 days. You get access to all the trading 24 hours in the room. You get access with my trading at night with the Globex. First Tuesday of every month, we have an in-depth course on how to trade the Globex and how to trade in general. We spend time emphasizing money management, how to trade the Globex, how to use the charts working with other traders. You get Dr. Frank Stanley's 101 options course, which is probably worth a couple of $100 by itself. That's yours to keep. You get access to our archives. We have an extensive library of videos and webinars that you can listen to at your leisure. And again, if you can find a room that will give you more trading, access to more trading, access to more education and information than Traders Den 24, again, call me and I'll give you your money back. So for 30 days, to see if this works for you, to see if it's a trading style that you're comfortable with, that it works the way that I've talked about today, $47 for 30 days. And I promise you, by at least introducing yourself, if you haven't already, to the Globex, it will make you a better investor and it will make you a better trader.